And you can start. You're on mute, Courtney.
I'm so sorry. Just as you did that, Diana, I got a note saying that Zoom crashed on me. So apologies.
No worries.
All right. So thank you, everybody, for coming to our second meetup for the month of May. And we're super excited to have Dhruv Patel join us again from UiPath. So he is going to be sharing his insights with us. But first things first, let me go ahead and see if I can share my screen. I had it up and now it's not going to work. So I might just have to talk through this. As always, we are happy to be here with all of you that are able to join us today. I am Courtney Dominguez. I am one of the co-leads for the South Florida chapter. Tracy Dixon is my partner in crime, and she's traveling today, so she might be able to join us a little bit later. But as you know, Tracy and I lead these meetings usually on a monthly basis. And like I said, this month, we're very excited to have two. So thank you for joining us. If you were here before, thank you for joining us again. We're really excited today to have Dhruv with us. Dhruv Patel is with UiPath, and he is going to be covering the latest and greatest features that were just released earlier this month with the latest release, major release for the UiPath suite of products. Unfortunately, I can't share my screen right now, so I'm just going to turn it right over to Dhruv so he can share his screen and walk us through some of these new features. So thank you once again, Dhruv, for being with us, and thank you, Diana, for kicking us off and getting us hosted on Zoom.
Perfect. Thanks, Courtney. Let me share my screen. Let me know once it comes through. We can get it started.
We can see it.
Okay, awesome. So just a quick background on me. Sales engineer here at UiPath, knowledgeable on the platform, the products, how they work, and really here to help you understand, in this 23.4 release, what's new, at least from a highlight level, and really get you kind of in the know of some of the new capabilities that have been added to the platform. So really to start off, right, if we kind of look at the landscape of technology, right, you can see, in today's day and age, right, a lot has to do with AI machine learning. ChatGPT, you hear a lot about GPT models, generative AI, all these advancements, and it seems like, every day something new is coming out along the lines of AI. And so, one thing that, we like to start off with is, reminding customers and everyone that, the platform itself has had AI in it since the early days, right? So we've always had AI infused into the platform, and we're continuing to build that out as we continue to have these releases, right? The .4s, .10 releases. Automation as a whole, right, inclusive of AI, is moving to the center of business strategy and really turbocharged by AI, right? Across everything you do, right? The way you operate, as well as the way you innovate across your people, processes, and even your systems within your organization. And the goals of all of this are bringing together automation powered by AI and bringing AI to your employees and to your business is really to do a couple things, right? Accelerate human achievement, free people up from the mundane, repetitive work to be more creative, right? Focus on the more strategic, creative activities that are within your organization that can really add a lot of value, drive automation for good, and really sustainable innovation, right? Finding ways that you can innovate, make your organization more efficient, and really kind of on that cutting edge of bringing in new technology into your organization. And so really all of this is in the platform itself, across the different areas, across the different layers: discover, automate, and operate. We've added in AI and machine learning and continue to improve upon the AI and machine learning capabilities that are within each of these layers. Now, just to give a quick rundown of the layers, if you're not familiar, the discovery pillar right? That's really going to be where you're doing a lot of the uncovering of where there could be bottlenecks or inefficiencies within the processes that are happening in your organization, and really allowing you to uncover, how can you make these better, right? How can you improve those processes, remove the bottlenecks, and even potentially build automations to handle making them more efficient, right? We have different capabilities within that layer. Process mining to look at more of a system level, right? And understand the processes from those system logs. Task mining to understand, from a user action perspective, what's going on the screen, when people, are actually interacting with the systems that they're working on. And then communications mining, right? The other two kind of focus on systems and users, and now you can focus on communication data, right? So that's emails, chats, text, survey data, that type of stuff. You're going to be able to analyze and uncover and really slice and dice and understand what kinds of communications are coming in and out of your organization. And finally, right, we have a way to really manage all those ideas that are coming out of these tools and really give you a one-stop shop to collaborate on them and overall improve your processes or even build those automations. And once you have that discovery understanding of where you want to focus your effort of building those automations or just improving the processes, that next step is, how do we actually automate it? And that's really where, you have the low-code development within Studio, within apps to build, different interfaces and experiences, as well as those automations. A combination of UI and API automation capabilities that you're able to build out and have access to. And then even bringing in AI machine learning into those automations. So, allowing you to really handle some more of those complex processes with some intelligence and really kind of giving the robots and the automations some of that intelligence. Now, as you build these automations and as you scale from an enterprise perspective, you're going to need to operate. So you'll need ways of managing this at scale, right, with unified governance and management, which we're continuing to put more and more updates into, which you'll see kind of in some subsequent slides. We've also done some improvements to the analytics capabilities, right? Mainly that focuses around insights, but really integrating it into the platform, both from a discovery perspective as well as from an operate perspective. And then, testing, right? Giving you the ability to do testing for not just your automations, but also for your applications. So really giving you a full all-encompassing platform. Now, if we focus in on the 23.4 updates, there's going to be a lot, right? Each time we come out with an update and a new major release, there's a lot of updates that we pull into the platform. We're always working to improve our products and capabilities and listening to the customer, right? So your voice matters, and we're really focusing our efforts in making sure that the things you're asking for, the things you're looking for, and the things you'd like to do with the platform are included in these releases. Now, there's a lot here. What we'll go through on the next few slides are going to be just some more kind of specific or highlights from this list. What I encourage you to do is you'll have this deck, which we'll send out to you so you can go through it in more detail to some of the things we may not cover today. But also I encourage you to go to the documentation. It should be docs.uipath.com, and you can really dive into all of these releases in more detail by product and by those specific features and capabilities that have been released. So in the Discover area, one of the things we improved was with process mining. So process mining, that specific tool, we've had an improvement to the graph, or that process graph that actually shows and displays itself. We've updated to this Tracy process algorithm, which is basically going to make it more apparent when you're trying to find that most common path of how that information is flowing in that system. This just makes it that much easier to analyze the data, analyze, the main common path within your process flow, as well as understand what are some of those extraneous paths that some of the packets of information might be taken, or some of that transactional data might be taken. So again, just helps you visualize and make those visualizations and that discovery sequence that much easier. Now, another highlight too with process mining and now integrating it with task mining. So now directly from your process mining tool, you can go ahead and trigger a task mining study right then and there. If in the past we had an integration and we still have the integration where you can directly send ideas from process mining to automation hub. And now we're taking a step further and allowing you to directly initiate a task mining study. What's nice about this is, once you understand where there's bottlenecks from a system perspective, really the next step is to understand what are users doing on their desktop during that point in time within the process itself. And so this makes it that much easier to just quickly set up a project, invite users, and really start seeing where users are clicking, where they're typing, and how they're actually moving through the process. That's maybe manual today and may have bottlenecks. So really speeding up that discovery time and helping you have a better way of actually setting up and starting these studies directly from the process mining tool. Now, speaking of task mining, we've also made improvements to task mining. When we say task mining, we have assisted task mining and unassisted task mining. Specifically in unassisted task mining, we've made some improvements in the recorder itself, some updates to the backend architecture. So the piece that really does the analytics, the AI machine learning, we've made some improvements there to just bring up faster results for task mining, so you can really dive into the results in a more timely manner. And we've also added ways to export the data that's been analyzed so that you could take a look at it in CSV format and do some additional exploration kind of outside the tool. And you do get a lot of good dashboards and capabilities built in the tool as well. So really just making it that much more flexible and open from a analysis perspective. Now we've covered, process mining, the system side, task mining, the user side, and now the communications mining side. So you may have heard towards the end of last year, we had that acquisition of Reinfer, and now we've actually brought it into the platform, renamed it to communications mining. So really now bring it into the fold of the automation platform. And really what you're going to be able to do is analyze the communications, right, that are coming in and out of your organization, emails, surveys, different things like that. All that communication data you can now bring directly into the platform, analyze it, train a machine learning model on it to help with categorization and entity extraction. And not only can you use communications mining for the analysis and exploration, but once you have that model trained, you can actually deploy it and use it within your automations to execute certain things downstream. So this tool really becomes powerful in that you're not only using it from a discovery perspective, but also from an automation perspective, where you can now start to actually automate those communications that are coming in and your response to those communications. So a really powerful tool here. It uses a large language model, the advanced AI and machine learning capabilities that you're probably hearing or have heard of in the past few months. That is baked into this product or this capability within the platform. So you're getting some of that latest and greatest AI and machine learning technology here. And again, if anyone has any questions, feel free to keep this open as I go. Feel free to just come off mute and ask them as we go. So that was a couple of highlights from Discovery. Again, there's a ton more. Encourage you to check out the deck that we send and then our documentation. But now some highlights in the automate space, right? We've discovered, uncovered, where we might want to build some automations or do process improvement. And now in the automate section, some improvements we've done to make just development and building automations that much more simple or that much more easy and straightforward, as well as allowing you to bring in advanced technologies, right? Like AI machine learning. So this first update is Studio Web. You may have heard that we've had Studio Web, at least in preview, available in the cloud. So if you're a cloud user, you can start using this. But it's a really great way to build without having any IT dependencies or installing anything locally. It's a fully browser-based automation development tool. You're going to be able to just log into Automation Cloud, spin this up just by selecting it on the left-hand side and start automating instantly. Now, it's going to allow you to do those API-driven or cross-platform driven automations. But it's a really simple way to get started. The activities that you're going to use are always up to date. You're going to have good oversight and control over the automations. And just like you would publish it into your orchestrator, you'll publish any Studio Web automation into Orchestrator and can run it just like any other automation. So pretty handy way to get started and start developing without even having to download anything locally. Now, along the lines of making development that much easier, UiPath apps, right? If you don't know about apps, just a quick blurb about it is it's going to be a way to really do low code, drag and drop web apps. This really allows you to create experiences for working with apps and working with your automations, right? You can build experiences both for employees internally that you could always do, but now what we've done is released a new capability for public-facing apps. What this means is you can actually have these apps exposed external to your organization and external to the automation cloud org. And so individuals don't have to log in to access the app. They can simply go to the URL and access the app directly. So to give you a little taste of this, we've actually here at UiPath been using these public-facing apps at events that we go to, right? There was SVB Sapphire, there's some healthcare events like HIMSS and Vive, and we've actually used a public-facing app to help us provide content to booth goers or individuals coming to the booth. And so an example of that, if you have your phone handy, you could take a moment, scan this QR code with your phone. It'll actually take you directly to a public-facing apps, and you can get some hands-on experience with how that works and how it looks and feels to interact with this public-facing app capability. So I'll leave it on the screen for a couple more seconds and then continue on. Awesome. Now, continuing on the theme of making development that much easier and just helping with time to value, solution accelerators. So another thing we've done here is really dived into building out these end-to-end solution accelerators that can help organizations build automations and high-value automations quickly. Because of our experience, working with organizations, understanding different industries, different departments, different lines of businesses, and common use cases, we've combined all that information to really make some focused solution accelerators that you can download right from our marketplace and really get some handy instructions, some templates, and some guides on building out the end-to-end automation quickly and efficiently. These are packaged solutions, so you'll download it and it'll most likely come in like a zip file. You'll unzip it and it'll have instructions, some pre-set up schemas, workflows, things like that that you can really use to help building without having to start from scratch. Now, there's a few out there today on our marketplace, and we're going to continue to put more and more out there. So highly encourage you to check out marketplace.uipath.com, go to the solution accelerators under the collection section, and you'll see what we have available today. But then I encourage you to continue to check it throughout the year and beyond as we add more and more to it. Now, speaking of speed and speed to development, not only have we made it easier to develop, but we've also improved the speed of the robots. We wanted to make it quicker for them to execute, make them more efficient, and so we've added some speed improvements there for automations with less than 10 activities. That robot startup time from Assistant is going to be 50% faster and 35% faster for activities or for automations where it's more than 100 activities. So really just making these robots more efficient so that you can use them and maximize their usability in your organization. Now, diving in a little bit more to some of the development experience and where we've made it easier, we've actually made the AI computer vision capabilities easier to use. So prior to this release, you may have noticed there was a separate activity pack that you needed to have or that may have already been installed, but separate set of activities for computer vision specific automations, when you talk about UI automations. And what we've done now is actually brought that into the normal UI selector targeting capabilities for UI automation. So no more will there be a separate activity pack. Instead, it'll be part of that UI automation selector, unified selector approach that we have to actually finding elements. And it's one of those 3-tiered options or 4-tiered options where we have selector, fuzzy selector, an image, and then you'll also now see a computer vision option as well. This just makes it easier to build your automations. Again, less packages you have to think about using. And just when you go and decide to try to use those UI automation activities, it'll find the best UI selection option for that use case and for your needs there. So really just making it that much easier to use computer vision and to interact with various applications from a UI perspective. Now, we spoke a little bit about the UI automation updates in computer vision, but we've also made some strides in the API automation side as well, right? There's going to be times when you want to do API automation, UI automation, and even combinations of the two. And so we've made it easier to even do that API automation. One thing, if you're familiar with integration service, it's a single stop shop to really manage your API connections and then makes it easier to use within your automations. And one thing we've added is, integration service has a bunch of connectors that we have built into it already. But if you don't see one that connects to an application that you want to connect to, we have introduced something called Connector Builder. And with Connector Builder, you can actually create your own API definitions, your own connectors within the integration service and manage the connection points right then and there in that centralized experience. So really, again, making it easier to not only use connections that we have pre-built, but also bring in your own connections into the fold and start using them within your automations in a more centralized manner. Now, along those lines,
Hey, Ruth,
yeah,
can I ask a question real quick? And
of course.
that's on public preview right now, is that right? The
Yes.
Connector Builder? Okay.
With the GA target of .6, so maybe like a month or two from the .4 release.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
And we also have used this connector builder capability to build out some of our initial connectors as well that we've hardened and are out there for you to just use and spin up. So it's very capable in terms of, if you have a new API that you want to make this connection for, bring it right into the fold. And
if somebody is interested in that, they don't have to wait because it'll be the next .6 release. So they don't have to wait for the next major release, right? They could do an upgrade with an interim release.
Well, so if they're on cloud, it should already be available within their integration service. They'll just see it'll say preview next to it. That little blue, if you see up here in this picture, it says preview. Basically .6, that preview will go away.
Okay, got it.
Yep. Awesome. Another update too with integration service that again makes it that much easier to set up those API connections and share it across your developers is connection sharing. So now within integration service, prior to this, each developer really had to set up their own connections for integration service, but now you can set up single connections within integration service and based on folder governance, share it across multiple individuals for them to use with their attended and unattended robots. So really just making it that much easier to reuse and share your API connections once you create them and kind of manage them in the central location. So that, every time a developer goes in to build with these specific APIs, they don't have to go find or create a secret and client ID again. It'll all be managed the first time they do it and set up that connection with an integration service. And again, the other benefit too, not anything new, but triggers. So within integration service, just to kind of read on it, you have the ability once you set up those connections to create server-side triggers, meaning events in those other applications could then trigger automations automatically to kick off, right? So an example is a new record added to your Salesforce or CRM system. The trigger would basically wait for that activity to happen. So when a new record's added in, it'll then cause an automation to kick off directly, rather than you having to create a robot or automation to go check that system for an update. So again, a pretty, another handy reason to use integration service to really manage your API connections. Now we've made some updates here to our trigger-based attended automations. Let me put this on mute. So we've always had the ability to do trigger-based attended automations within the UiPath platform within your attended automations, but we basically revamped it. So made it easier to set up those trigger-based attended automations. And when we say trigger-based attended automations, it's really setting up an automation to watch for events happening on the screen, right? That could be anything from keyboard shortcuts, specific clicks types, element changes on applications, and all of that you can use to trigger automations to automatically run. Prior to that, you had to set up with a parallel activity container and then put in multiple activities. But really, we've made it that much easier in this structure to really kick off and develop those trigger-based attended automations. So, revamping it and just modernizing those activities and making it easier to build and work with from a developer perspective. So highly encourage you to check this slide out from the deck. And this video that you see playing here, if you go to our YouTube channel, you can go ahead and watch. There's a couple in the series that really talk through, what those updates are in detail to the trigger-based attended automations. And I encourage you to check it out because you can come up with some really unique automations just by using this. Now, continuing along, what else have we done from a development experience and for developers or even for your automations? I mentioned earlier, we made improvements to our AI machine learning models. When we specifically focus on document understanding, we've improved the models that we have currently deployed, and we've also added additional models, additional pre-trained models to the list of models that you have access to. Again, this just makes it that much easier for you to, if you're trying to tackle any of these use cases, to start with a pre-trained model rather than starting from scratch. So it just makes it that much easier to tackle some of these use cases. And the other thing we've done is added in something called one-click ML for document classification. Really what that means is if you wanted to take the data set that you've labeled and you published for a machine learning model and automatically create a classifier for it, you can do that within AI Center using that one-click ML, basically taking the labeled documents that you've already labeled and using that to train a machine learning classifier and deploy it. So really making it, again, easier to set up your document understanding workflows, easier to get that training for classification done, and easier to train your models with some of these out-of-the-box models. What I'll also say is this is just a small list of those new models that have been released. I would also check out the documentation, check out our out-of-the-box models for more, both from a language support perspective, to see some of the improvements we've done on the OCR engine side, and then even just to see what additional models are out there and that you have available to use. Now, we've also added business rules, so staying on that document understanding improvements process side, we've also added business rules directly to the taxonomy manager. So what's nice about this is, prior to this, you had to build all of your business rules into the automation. So after extraction was done, you needed to then add in some business rules, build out the workflow, the math, and all of that to do some comparisons and checks to determine, should something go through straight through processing, or should it have human in the loop or go through human in the loop or human validation. And so now we've actually abstracted some of that away by allowing you to build those math expressions, build those conditions and those business rules into the taxonomy manager directly. So now the field itself will automatically get that validation of, in this case, you're seeing an example of setting up a math expression to validate the total, right? And a handy way to do that from a business rule perspective is, let's do a sum of the net total and the VAT. And does that equal the total that we've extracted, right? This makes it really handy to quickly add in those business rules without having to add it into the workflow directly, and to quickly do those checks on some of those extracted data points that you have more confidence in whether you should do straight through processing or whether you should send something for human validation. Now, continuing along the integrated NLP and AI machine learning capabilities of the platform, we've started to add more connectors. So you'll see we have an OpenAI connector. This is one of the ones that we've released that you can start bringing in ChatGPT and those generative AI models into your automations more seamlessly. So rather than having to build out your API definition on your own, you can just use the OpenAI connector that's available within integration service, and with that comes with drag and drop activities to start using the OpenAI models within your automations. And we've also done this as well for AWS SageMaker, as well as we have a couple others out there for other machine learning model software. So this way, really just making it more accessible and easier for you to bring in those integrated AI machine learning models into your automations and start to bring in that intelligence, both whether you're using models that we have from our AI center, from our out-of-the-box models, or even using models external to the platform. Now, sticking to the AI and machine learning updates, you may have heard that we had announced a partnership with Amelia, conversational AI, specifically for AI-powered employee self-service experiences. So Amelia is a conversational AI chatbot where, now we have an integration with Amelia so that you can directly set up some self-service automation capabilities, almost like employee help desk, where, an employee can go chat with Amelia and based on certain sequences and conversation flows, kick off automations downstream. Really using this conversational AI capability as kind of that front end and way to interact and understand, what individuals are trying to accomplish, and then giving the arms and legs through UiPath, right? Allowing Amelia to actually go and execute things downstream using the UiPath automations. It's a really handy way to really operationalize the AI-powered employee self-service experience through Amelia and UiPath. Now, we talked a lot about integrated AI and machine learning and bringing in models, but we've also made some strides in AI machine learning with the products themselves, right? Not just with document understanding, but if you joined our AI summit, you may have heard of a couple of ways we're adding AI and machine learning into the platform. And one specific way I wanted to highlight was Clipboard AI. It's a really great way to start using generative AI, get some experience with it in a handy, easy to use tool. It's going to help you copy information, basically a universal copy from any source to any destination. It could look at unstructured data, extract information and paste it into your destination. It could be a form, could be an application, could be Excel, and even the reverse of that. So really handy way to copy and paste things without you having to go field by field and manually type. Or even build an automation to do it, right? This is going to be just out of the box, you download, open it up, start, and you can start to have AI at your fingertips, so to speak, right? To help you with copy and pasting and moving data around. I highly encourage you to check it out. You could sign up for access by the Insider program, and it's really fun to use, and it'll get you hands-on with AI machine learning, as well as give you a sense of the direction we're moving in from an AI machine learning and automation perspective. Awesome. And now on to Operate. So, we talked about updates to the discovery side, updates to the Automate side. And now from an operational perspective, right, we want to continue to push the envelope for how you can manage and govern everything. And so made some updates here as well. So at a high level, just to give some highlights, insights, if you are in the cloud or have Automation Suite, we've improved the Automation Hub integration with Insights. So there's some comparison dashboards, some automation ROI dashboards. So you can not only see now, based on the calculations you had done in Automation Hub, how does that compare to those calculations now that the automation is actually live and in production? So really helping you provide more reporting, better reporting for your leadership and, just for internally, so you understand how your program is running from an operational perspective when you talk about automating at scale, especially at enterprise scale. Now, we've also added some cross-tenant dashboards. So, prior to this, it was just tenant-based insights. So you could only look at things happening within one specific tenant. But what we've done from there is now giving you a level above. So now you can look at the org level across all your tenants. You have some pre-built dashboards that you can go ahead, download, and eventually we'll be enabling the ability to customize those and create some custom dashboards at that org level as well. So again, giving you more reporting capabilities, you can better report on your automation program and how your automations are running in production, as well as in development and all of that. Now, on the testing side, you may have also heard that we announced a partnership with SAP recently. That's actually just across the board with the platform, but one specific area where you can see some of this integration and some of this partnership kind of showing is through Test Manager. So within Test Manager, a lot of customers will use it for actually doing application testing, and specifically application testing on SAP. And so one of the things we've added to Test Manager is something called an SAP heat map or a heat map for SAP. And really it's going to basically it uses AI and machine learning to help you with visualizing SAP, where you're doing your tests, where your tests should be running, and where there might be some gaps or things that you want to execute within SAP. And so this really just makes it that much easier to uncover where there's test automation opportunities for SAP, but also where you need to run and execute some of those test cases when changes happen to your SAP environment or when you make updates and things like that. So really handy tool, especially given how large a lot of SAP or ERP systems are. Another thing we've done with Test Manager is opened up more connections for lifecycle management tools. So now, we are able to integrate with over 60 different lifecycle management tools using Test Manager, using this Plan View Task Top Hub at no additional charge. So really just making it that much easier to use Test Suite for RPA testing, for application testing, and really following the best software development lifecycle practices, right? When you're making changes, making updates, and deploying them, and needing to track defects, results, and all of the above in your lifecycle management tool. So again, just make it more open and more extensible and more integrated. And lastly, to help with debugging and to help with just, as your automations are running, making changes, making updates, we've added some capabilities around live streaming, taking remote control of the automations, and doing video recording of the automations that are running. So really, it's going to give you more visibility into those unattended robots, because again, those unattended robots are running off in the background on virtual machines. You really don't know what's necessarily happening on them. So this gives you more visibility, more transparency into how they're running. Helps you with troubleshooting, and you can do things both from a view perspective, both live as well as with pre-recorded or from recordings. So really handy tool to just help with, again, your testing, help with your development, and help with managing things in production. So again, those were some of the highlights from this 23.4 release. Of course, not all the updates, as you can see here. There's a ton more listed here and more to even come as we continue on in the coming months between now and the 23.10 release. So again, highly encourage you to look at this deck, look at the documentation, and look for some of those updates. Even check out the YouTube channel. There might be some update videos there, like some of those new attended automation triggers and things like that. So I'll take a pause here, kind of leave it on this screen and open it up for questions.
Dhruv, that I love that new feature, being able to record the unattended robot so you can troubleshoot. I can't tell you how many creative ways we've had to try to work around not being able to record unattended. So that's going to be, I know, a big probably a game changer for a lot of individuals that are trying to troubleshoot unattended.
Yeah, and I know we had a flavor of it in the past. I think you might have had to go to debug mode and then do some like kickoffs and stuff like that manually, but this makes it more seamless is probably the best way to put it. Yeah,
no, it's that one's a big nice new feature. So very excited about that. And also, I guess, a little bit of a not so shameless plug, but for the communications mining tool, May 9th, you were here with us and had a great session. So for those of you that might be looking for some more information on communications mining, I would encourage you to go back. And I know you've probably done this a few other times as well, but from the South Florida chapter perspective, we had a demo of this on our May 9th meeting. So I encourage you to go back and take a look at that if you're interested in learning more about communications mining, because I think that's going to be a great tool as well to work with the UiPath suite of products.
Yeah, and we also did me and Tom did a dev dives for communications mining as well. I think in that same recording we mentioned it, but you can also go there to find out or to see another demo. That time we basically combined communications mining and some of the generative AI technologies that you're seeing come out. So that's also another cool way to see how you can, really achieve multi-model automations, right? Bringing multiple machine learning models together to really achieve an end-to-end process.
Well, I don't see any questions in the chat. So I assume that we've covered, that you've done a great job covering the content for everybody. And so thank you for that.
Yeah, of course, happy to. And if anybody has any questions that they think of later on, feel free to reach me via email, and I'm happy to answer anything or help get to the right person.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dhruv. This content will be sent out. So for anyone that was not able to join us today or looking for some additional information, we will be distributing the presentation and the content that Dhruv went through. And stay tuned for our next meeting. We'll be putting that on the calendar soon, so everybody can get registered for that, for our monthly meeting of the South Florida chapter. So stay tuned for more information when that gets published. So Dhruv, thank you again. We appreciate it. Diana, thank you for hosting from a Zoom side of things, and we'll meet again next month. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.